All right.
The Kosovo Specialist Chambers is now in session.
Please be seated. Good morning. Court officer, can you please call the case?
Good morning, Your Honors. This is case KSC BC 2020-05, the Specialist Prosecutor versus Salih Mustafa.
Thank you. First of all, I will call appearances. Madam Prosecutor, could you tell us who is present for the Specialist Prosecutor's Office?
Of course, Your Honors. Good morning. The SPO is today represented by Deputy Prosecutor Alex Whiting, Prosecutor Cesare Michalsuk, Associate Prosecutor Filippo De Minicis, Case Manager Julie Mann, and myself, Silvia D'Ascoli, Associate Prosecutor.
Okay, thank you. Victims' Counsel, you have the floor.
Good morning, Your Honours. Good morning, everybody. The Victims' Counsel team is today represented by Marie-Pierre Barbeau, Senior Legal Associate, Lisbeth Zechfeld, Co-Counsel, and by myself, Annie Poos, as Victims' Counsel. Thank you.
Thank you. Defense Counsel, you have the floor.
Good morning, Your Honor. Defense is represented by Mr. Betim Shala, my co-counsel, myself, Julius von Bonnet, lead counsel, and interpreter and investigator, Mr. Fatmir Pillai. Mr. Mustafa is joining us via remote, the video link. He will do so also tomorrow.
Thank you. Mr. Mustafa, good morning. Does the connection work okay? Can you hear us?
Yes, Your Honor. Yes, I can hear you very well, Your Honor.
Very well. And for the record, you are appearing before Trial Panel 1. Before we begin with the testimony of witness 1679, I would like to discuss one issue with the SPO. Madam Prosecutor, the SPO has filed a request for admission of exhibits from the direct examination from the witnesses 3593 and 4600, the first SPO witnesses we heard last week. And the panel notes that the SPO tenders the entire transcript of the IMMEC statement and the SPO interviews, which were in part during the testimony of the witnesses 3593 and 460 used in court. And we also noted that the SPO tenders into evidence in its entirety the witness statement of 3593 of 3 June 2021. And that one was not used during the examination of the witness. And the panel would like to clarify that only the portions of interviews that have been discussed with the witness during the testimony in court before the specialist chambers can be used or can be tendered into evidence by the parties in the Victims' Counsel. It's consistent with the principle of orality provided for in Rule 141, paragraph 1, and none of the exceptions that are foreseen in the law and in the rules are applicable here, and we therefore consider that part of previous statements not used during the witness testimony in court can be tendered in evidence. Because we think it's contrary to the principle of orality provided for in the rules and the right to a fair trial. And we would also like to clarify that in our decision on the admissibility of evidence, paragraph 38, we have instructed the parties and the Victims' Counsel to submit lengthy material in their entirety, because in that way it will allow the panel to assess the context of the portion you are tendering into evidence. But this paragraph can, however, not be interpreted as authorizing to tender previous written statements of part of it that were not used in court. So The SPO should therefore consider to resubmit its request for admission with regard to these exhibits from the direct examination, tendering into evidence only the exact parts that have been used in court. In the alternative, the SPO can file submissions on why it stands by its position on the matter, and it would, in that regard, be important to specify also the legal basis for doing so. And I can give you the floor now, Madam Prosecutor, but I could also give you the floor if you want to discuss with your colleagues at a later moment, and then you come back. And depending on the discussion that follows, we will see how to proceed.
Of course, Your Honours. Thank you for the floor. For now, I can just say that we take note of that, and we will file submissions. If there's anything else that I will need to add, I can do it at a later stage. But we take note of this, and we will resubmit the application, and if necessary, should we want to submit the entirety of the portions, even those are not used, we will file appropriate submissions. Thank you.
Thank you. But in that case, I will give an oral order. The panel requests then the SPO to resubmit by Friday, 8 October 2020, its request for admission of exhibits from the direct examination of witness 3593 and 4600, tendering into evidence only the exact parts which have been used in court, and reminds the defense and the victims' counsel of the possibility to file responses to such motions within the time limit set in paragraph 41 of the decision on admissibility of evidence. And this, yes, and this concludes my oral order. Now, having said this, let's now move to core business of today, and that is hearing the witness 1679. Can we please usher the witness into the courtroom, please? Mr. Witness, good morning. Welcome to the specialist chambers. Can you hear me?
Yes. Yes, I can hear you. However, the sound is very low.
You hear me now better?
Yes, now it's better.
If it needs to be a little bit louder still, we can do that.
If possible, yes.
This is the maximum. Yes? I see 2 thumbs up, so okay for now. Good. How are you, first of all?
I am fine, thank you. I'm a bit nervous, but okay.
And I can understand that, but we will try to explain everything what we will be doing in this courtroom today to you in order to ease it a little bit.
Thank you.
Today, with your witness statement, before we begin, I have several remarks for you that are of importance. Yeah. First of all, I want to explain to you the protective measures that you have been granted for your testimony. Yeah. You have been assigned a pseudonym, and that means that we will never mention your name in court. Yeah. We will always address you as Mr. Witness. Yeah. In that way, the public will not know your name. Okay? And you have face and voice distortion, and that makes that people outside the courtroom, watching the broadcast, can not see you, and they will not hear your real voice. And when you answer questions that will not reveal your identity, we will do so in open court, like we are now, that everybody can see us here, but not you. But when you are asked to describe anything that could identify you or that relates specifically to you, we will do in private session. And that means that there is no broadcast, and outside the courtroom they cannot hear what we are saying in the courtroom. And Julia, I see you nodding. And if there's anything said during an open session that may identify you, we will protect this information. Your testimony will be broadcast with a delay, and we can remove any information that has come up that could be seen by the public, and it will also be taken out of the public transcript of the proceedings. And in addition to these protective measures, 4 additional measures were added upon the request of the Witness Support and Protection and Support Office, that's the WIPSO, pursuant to Rule 80, Paragraph 4, C, Roman 1 and 3 of the rules. That's filing 219 and 220. And these special measures are shielding you from the direct view of the accused, allowing breaks if you think it's necessary, attendance of a psychologist, and also a support staff member. And I inform you that outside the courtroom, a support staff member and a psychologist is available for you if you would need their support in the courtroom. Yeah? And this decision of the panel has been shared through CMU with the parties and the Victims' Council by email dated 28 September of this year at 17:41. These protective measures, are they clear to you, Mr. Witness?
Yes, they are. Yes, I understood everything.
Now, needless to say, and I direct myself to the parties and the Victims' Council and also for the panel, of course, we should all respect these protective measures and pay the utmost attention in the course of the examination, avoiding disclosure of confidential information in open session. Yeah. That's something for all of us. I remind you that this hearing is held in open session unless otherwise requested by you or decided so by the panel. I remind you to give me prior notice should you require to go into private session or closed session for the purpose of your questioning or making observations. I remind you of the procedure regarding in-court redactions set out in our conduct of proceedings decision. And I remind you of the usual courtroom procedures about the pace of speaking. Mr. Witness, I turn back to you. You are called to testify before the specialist chambers in the case of the specialist prosecutor versus Salih Mustafa, in order to help the panel to reach a verdict. After you have taken your solemn declaration, you will be asked questions by the lawyers of the Specialist Prosecution Office, the lawyer representing the victims admitted in the proceedings, and the defense counsel for Mr. Mustafa, and by us, the judges of the panel. Yeah? And I would like to provide you with some guidance for answering the questions that will be put to you, Mr. Witness. Yeah? First of all, please listen carefully to each question. And if you do not understand, please ask for the question to be repeated. Yeah? We want you to tell the truth. We want to hear what you saw, what you heard, what you sensed, what you experienced. If you did not see or hear it, please tell us how you found out. Yeah? You may not remember all the details of what occurred, and this is perfectly fine. Please don't make something up. Please don't guess. You can say, I don't know. That will suffice. Have you understood what I said to you? Yeah?
Yes.
Some practical advice for you, because we are in this specific setting. Everything that we say is translated and recorded. So it's important to speak in this microphone, to speak clearly and at a slow pace, because in that way it will allow the interpreters to do their work properly. Yeah? And you should only start speaking when the person who is asking you the question has finished. Yeah? You can count in your head till 5 and then start speaking, because that will allow the interpreter to finish the sentence, the translation of the sentence of the person who asked you the question. Okay? Because we all speak a little bit more slowly in this courtroom. Now, if you have any questions, if you need a break or assistance, you just tell me by raising your hand, and then I can give you the floor. Yeah? Have you understood all that? Yeah.
Yes, Your Honor.
But it's important for you to know. Very well, thank you. As we must do with every witness, I will now ask you to read the solemn declaration, and I remind you that giving a false testimony, Mr. Witness, is a crime under the jurisdiction of the specialist chambers. Do you understand this too? Okay.
Yes, I do.
I see that he already has the solemn declaration in front of him. Please proceed. You can read the text, Mr. Witness.
Conscious of the significance of my testimony and my legal responsibility, I solemnly declare that I will tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, and that I shall not withhold anything which has come to my knowledge. Interpreters, kindly ask the witness to sit closer to the microphone.
Can you sit a little bit more closer to the microphone? In that way, the interpreters can hear your voice better. Or maybe we can put the microphone a little bit more, we can push it a little bit more towards the witness. Okay, please, this is for the interpreters, please let me know if it suffices like this. If not, we will have to try to find another way.
We will, Your Honor.
We can now begin with the testimony of witness 1679, starting with the questioning by the SPO. Madam Prosecutor, you have estimated 7 hours for your questioning of this witness. Please inform us when there are any changes you think are relevant to share with the panel for our planning purposes.
Yes, Your Honors, we will monitor the progress of the direct examination.
Thank you. You have the floor.
Thank you. Good morning, Mr. Witness. I'm the counsel for the prosecution. We will lead your direct examination today. During today's examination, I will be now asking you questions related to events in 1999. I will be showing you visual material, including photos and sketches. Madam Presiding Judge has already explained to you the protective measures granted in your case and the use of private and public session. I will remind you, whenever it is necessary, about whether we are in open or in a private session, so that we can pay extra attention, me with questions and you with answers, to make sure that the information protected remains so. Your Honors, now, since the initial questions will deal with the witness' personal background and other identifying information, I will ask the trial panel to move into private session for this initial part of the testimony, which should be brief.
No, I was just an ordinary person.
What about spring 1999? Where were you then?
Spring 99. I can't remember things now with seasons. Are you talking about the war? If you're talking about the war, after the people were expelled from their homes, I went to join the army.
Which army did you join?
KLA.
why did you want to join the KLA?
I wanted to contribute to my country's liberation like everybody else.
Do you remember whether this was before or after the beginning of the NATO bombing?
This was after the bombing. It was during the war. People were leaving, going to Macedonia. Other people were going to the villages.
Okay. Your Honors, we can go back to open session.
Madam Court Officer, could you bring us back into open session, please?
Your Honors, we're in public session.
Mr. Witness, we are now, and for everybody, we are now in open session.
Mr. Witness, you told us you went to join the KLA. Can you please tell us where you went?
So we reported to them. They took our details. And we remained there.
Do you remember the name of this superior commander?
Yes, I do. It was Fatmir Sopi. The other one was Adem Shehu. And there was another one who they called Triumph.
Okay, so you said you reported to them, they took your details, and you remained there. What did you do at this school in Slash?
We remained there. Every day we would do some military training. Adem Shehu and Triumph led the military training. And 4 or 5 days later, another unit arrived and they took me.
Before we get there, you said you found these commanders at the school in Slash. Do you know what KLA unit was there at the school in Slash?
As far as I know, it was 153rd Brigade, where we tried to join and where we had that military training.
Describe some of the training activities that you did there in those days at the Slash school?
Well, we would do the training a bit further down from the school, like climbing, exercises that they do in the army.
Okay. Did you already know Adem Shehu and Fatmir Sopi from before you met them at the school or not?
No, I didn't know them from before. That was the first time I saw them. I met Fatmir Sopi, and they took our details, and then Adem Shehu led our training. That was the first time I saw them, I met them. I didn't know them from before.
Their names?
I heard their names from other people because there were a lot of young men that had joined before us, and they told us that this is 153rd Brigade, Fatmir Sopi, Adem Shehu and Triumph lead the military training. So this we heard from other people who were there.
Do you remember approximately with how many other people you were training, approximately?
I don't remember exactly, but perhaps there were a lot. Perhaps 40, 50 people, young men like us.
And how long did you stay at the school for?
I can't remember exactly. I think it was 4 days, and then on the 5th day they came and took me away. I didn't know them. There were 4 soldiers dressed in black uniform. They were skifterat. I learned that later. They were like a special unit of some sort.
So you said these were 4 soldiers dressed in black. So black uniforms, were they armed?
Yes, they were armed.
Did they have any insignia on their uniforms, any badge?
Yes, they had some emblems. Later on I learned that it wrote BIA. There were 3 letters, BIA.
So did you see any inscription on this badge, on these emblems?
I saw the 3 letters BIA.
Okay, can you tell us what happened when these soldiers arrived?
I was in the yard of the school, and they approached me. They asked me my name. I told them. 3 of them remained with me outside. 1 of them went inside, and after he came out, they told me, you have to come with us. The commander needs to discuss something with you.
And what did you do when they told you you should go with them?
What could I do? I was with them. I went with them.
Did you feel you had a choice to go with them or not?
I didn't understand. They told me that the commander needs to talk to you, and I went with them. And there was nothing for me to think. There were four people armed who told you, come with us. What could I do?
Show you any documentation to justify you taking you elsewhere?
No, no documents at all. They just said, come with us, the commander needs to ask you something. That was all.
Use themselves by name or nickname?
No. They just said, we are the special unit, Skifterat, and you have to come with us.
Did they tell you where they were taking you?
To the headquarters, to the staff, another staff, and their commander.
Okay, so tell us what happened, where they took you and how you got there.
We continued on the road. We walked all the way. We arrived at a place, I don't know how to describe it to you, but it was the first time I was seeing that place. We arrived at that place. They told me, lower your head. I didn't know what was happening. When we got closer to some buildings, there was a sack, a black sack, if I'm not mistaken. They put it on my head and they took me into one of the buildings.
What happened when they took you inside this
thing from former statements, and there were some things that we could not find an understanding about.
Okay, we will get to that later. Did you give that statement freely, voluntarily?
Yes.
Were you threatened or forced in any way to give that statement?
No. That was out of my free will. Everything was correct.
Did you answer the questions by the prosecutor to the best of your knowledge and belief?
To what I could remember, to what was still in my head, there were things that we could not find an understanding relating to the former statement. However, everything that I remembered, I did my best to recount that.
And, Your Honors, for the record, the witness is referring to the old undated unmixed statement, but we will get to that later if necessary. So, sir, were your answers truthful during that interview with the SPO?
Yes, to my recollection, they were truthful.
Can I please ask Madam Court Officer to call up the transcript marked with ERN 060698 TRET Part 2, Revised Red 3, which is at tab 3 of the list of exhibits for this witness? I would need page 11 from line 13 of the English transcript, and page 11 as well from line 9 of the corresponding Albanian transcript. Sir, you will soon see two transcripts appearing on your screen.
Proceed.
Yes, thank you, Your Honors. Mr. Witness, I'll take you to your prior unmixed statement, and we are now in a private session.
Yes.
To call up the document marked with the ERN 7000687 to 7000691, red 3, English page 1, and Albanian page 4. It's the same document. This is a document at tab 1 of the list of documents for the witness. Mr. Witness, again, soon you will see appearing on your screen the prior statement that you gave to unmixed investigators. And again, you will have both the English and the Albanian, and you can either follow the Albanian from the screen or listen to the interpretation in Albanian of the English sentences that I will read. So I will read from the middle of page 1 of the English. I don't see that it is visible.
I have something on my screen now, and you?
No, I have the statement. However, there's a blank part. There's a part white that I don't see. Okay. Now I can see in the English the relevant part that I need. Yes. So I'll read from, I think it's the 5th line from the bottom of the screen. And we will do that later. So please bear with me.
Okay, I just wanted to be clear to explain things because with one of your prosecutors there were certain points that we misunderstood each other, and that's why I wanted to clarify this.
Yeah. It's very much appreciated that you want to clarify certain topics, because that's what this whole testimony is about. And you will be, as I understood from Madame Prosecutor, be given the opportunity to, to say exactly what you wanted to be your testimony here. So that opportunity will come.
Thank you, Your Honors.
Thank you.
Can go back to open session, Your Honors.
Madam Court Officer, could you bring us back into open session, please?
Your Honors, we're back in open session.
Thank you, Madam Court Officer. Madam Prosecutor, please proceed.
Thank you, Your Honors. So, Mr. Witness, you said earlier, and this is page 23, line 8 of today's transcript, you said
Interrupt you, but I see that my screen with the transcript is not proceeding anymore with new text, and I see at my right-hand side one of the prosecutors saying that he agrees with me. Yes, this is a remark for not so much for you, but for the technical booth, to see what's happening, why the transcript has stopped. I was informed that it's looked at by the IT department, so we have to wait for a moment. Mr. Witness, there is a problem with the transcript, dus the text that is being said in the courtroom and is being written down. We cannot, it's not proceeding anymore, so we have to look what technical problem there is. Okay? So we wait for a moment. Well, Mr. Witness, there appears to be a technical problem, and that means that for now we will take the break a little bit earlier than we had foreseen. So instead of having a break at 11, we will have a break now for half an hour. It's back on? Okay. Yes? If I say now yes, I see it appearing? Is it working? Okay. No, I don't see it appeared on my screen. So, okay. I don't see it on my screen. So, neither do you?
We do see it, Your Honors.
Okay, but then it's still a problem because apparently we are not all connected.
Yes.
And you are, as I speak, you are writing. And I look at you because I don't see anything appearing. Defense counsel, on your screen.
On my screen here, I don't see it, Your Honor.
On your screen?
Co-counsel seems to have it, but I don't have it.
Let me see, because
For example,
I think there's a problem with this screen because I see it on Legal Transcend on my normal screen. I do. Mr. Van Bonnet?
I have it until 10:38, while my co-counsel is up to 10:42.
Oh, so you
So
don't have
I'm
it on
4 minutes short,
4 minutes short.
so to speak.
Yes. Can proceed unless that for the coming quarter of an hour you would share the screen with. No, it doesn't proceed. Okay, then Mr. Witness, we are going to take a break, the normal break of half an hour that will take us till 11:15. I will ask to usher you out, and we will see you back in half an hour.
Thank you.
Okay, then we have a half an hour break and we will resume at 11:15, and I hope that everything will be fixed by then.
All right. All right.
Please be seated. Okay. Let us check if it's working. And I see text appearing on my screen, so it means it does. Good. And I look around. If I see nodding heads everywhere, that is a confirmation that... oh. Are you logging in again? And now it's working? Or are you saying, yes, I'm logging in? Okay. Defense Counsel, is everything working fine at your side of the table? Okay, and the prosecution is...
Yes, Your Honors, everything works fine.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay. I asked for a technician to come to the courtroom in order to see what we can do, because apparently now they're all working and one not. I'm very sorry for that. Yes, Victims Counsel, please.
So, Your Honor, I would suggest that because my transcript is working fine, that we, to get on with the testimony, just chair for now, improvise and see how this can be fixed, because it is a bit peculiar that one set works and the other doesn't, but I'm sure it can somehow be fixed over time. So there would be no objection from our side if we were to proceed now.
Victims Counsel, thank you for that proposal. We will have somebody look at the computer of your co-counsel and who is already there, and then, yes, it's good to proceed and not have the witness waiting. So thank you for that. And,
Microphone, Your Honor.
And I will repeat what I said. For the record, I don't see any changes in the composition of the different teams. And I saw an acknowledgement for that from the parties in the Victims' Counsel. Mr. Witness, welcome again. We will proceed with the examination by the lawyer for the Specialist Prosecution Office. And I hope that the technical problems are something of the past. Madam Prosecutor, you have the floor.
Thank you, Your Honors. Mr. Witness, I will go back to some of the questions that we were discussing before the break. So you said earlier
caught me by the arms and dragged me. They took me from that area upstairs outside.
And where did they take you?
They took me to the same building, but downstairs there was a barn there.
Can you describe this place, this barn where they took you after the beatings? Just approximately, whatever you remember.
From what I remember, it was a building made of stone. There was a wooden door. There was some hay dampness.
Okay. And was there anyone inside this cowshed? And Mr. Witness, at this point, a yes or no answer would suffice because we are in open session. So please don't mention names. I will go back to this later on in private session if necessary. So I repeat my question. Was there anyone inside the cowshed? And again, a yes or no answer will suffice.
Yes, there was.
Okay. Can you describe what happened when you were in this barn? For how long you were kept? What happened in the following days? Anything you remember?
I remember that I stayed there for 17 nights. I was released from that location on the 18th day. Every day I went through tortures of all kind. We stayed there and you just stayed and waited who will come to get you and take you upstairs for beating. This is what I remember.
Can you describe what type of beatings or mistreatment you went through during those days at the barn? Whether it was upstairs or downstairs, you mentioned both locations.
Well, they would kick us, beat us with wooden sticks, iron rods. They would burn us with candle. They would keep the candle on your back and burn you with electricity. They had a box and they would wire your legs with wires. So there were all sorts of torture.
Mr. Witness, I know this is difficult, but I have to go back to it and ask you for more details regarding each of the mistreatment that you mentioned. So can you describe how you were beaten up? You mentioned kicks, punches, bars. Just can you describe the way you were beating up?
The way I was beaten up there, when they would bring you upstairs, they had handles of hatchets, and they also had some batons that resembled police ones. They were of iron, and they would use them to hit me.
You mentioned candles as well. Can you explain what they would do with candles?
They would sit you on a chair, light the candle, put it near your back, and then the drops would fall on your skin and burn you.
And was this downstairs or upstairs?
These were upstairs.
You also mentioned an electricity box. Can you explain how the maltreatment with the electricity happened?
It was a box. They would put the wires on both your legs, and then they would turn it on, and then it would shake you. They would put the wires on both your legs, and then they would turn the box on. I don't know how.
Do you remember any other mistreatment? Do you remember any particularly degrading or humiliating treatment that you received?
I do not understand this, Madam Prosecutor.
Were you sexually abused in any way?
No, I was not sexually abused. However, I was urinated upon.
And how did they do that? Can you describe?
This happened downstairs while I was in the basement. I asked for water. I asked them to bring us some water. And then 2 soldiers came. They beat me. I was lying on the ground, and in the end, they urinated upon me and said, "Here's water for you."
Did it happen once or different times? How many times did it happen?
As far as I remember, it happened twice. To my recollection, it happened twice.
And did you witness anyone else being urinated on? And again, at this stage, just a yes or no answer will suffice, and I'll go back to details when we are in a private session.
I don't remember right now. I can't say that I saw this happen to somebody else, but it did happen to me.
Okay, I understand. Sir, during the time you were kept in the barn, how many times were you beaten up? How often was that?
It happened almost every day. Perhaps there was the odd day that I was not beaten that much, so the intensity was less. on those days, but I was beaten almost every day.
And because you mentioned both the cowshed and the upstairs part, what would they do downstairs in the cowshed? What type of mistreatment?
Well, whoever opened that door would kick you or slap you. They wouldn't leave without doing something to you.
And did that happen to you and the other people that were in the cowshed?
Yes, yes. It did happen to me and to other people as well.
What about upstairs, when they would take you upstairs? What would happen there?
Well, they would beat me, and it was a very brutal beating. You can't imagine how brutal it was.
And the use of those tools that you mentioned earlier, the candles, the electricity box, do I understand that happened upstairs, correct?
Yes, yes, it happened upstairs.
Do you remember how many people were involved in these beatings, mistreatments?
There were 3, 4, sometimes 5 people. It depended. Because those people, they would go places. Sometimes they would leave. Sometimes other people would come.
Do you remember whether it was always the same people, soldiers, beating you? Or did they change?
It was the same soldiers that were there. The people who tortured me and who tortured the others were the same.
When you were in the stable, in the cowshed, did the beatings, mistreatments happen in front of the others who were also kept there?
Yes.
And when you were taken upstairs, were you taken there individually or in a group? Again, please be aware they were an open session, so no need to mention names.
No. When they took you upstairs, it was individually. They wouldn't take us in groups, just one by one.
Do you know or did you hear the names or nicknames of the people involved in the beatings and mistreatment?
Yes. I heard some names and pseudonyms.
Can you tell us what these names and pseudonyms were?
were the ones that tortured us.
Okay. Do you remember how were these people dressed? Uniform or civilian clothes, whatever you remember.
They were wearing black, but on the odd occasion they were also wearing civilian clothes like jeans and so on. But usually they were in uniform, their uniform.
The times that they were in uniforms, do you remember other details about these uniforms? For example, badges, insignia, anything else you can remember?
I remember an emblem with the inscription BIA. That's what I remember.
Okay. You mentioned Tabuti. Is that a nickname, a pseudonym?
That's how they called him, Tabuti. However, later on, I heard that his name was Nazif.
And do you know whether this nickname, Tabuti, has any meaning? Do you know what it means?
I don't know. You know, when people die, you put them in a coffin. I don't know what that nickname meant.
Do you mean to say that tabut means coffin, according to your understanding?
Yes, as far as I understand, that it means something like that.
I see. Your Honors, I'm now moving to an area where I have questions that might reveal identifying details of the witness and of protected witnesses. So I would appreciate if we can move into private session.
Yes, Madam Prosecutor, I see your point. Madam Court Officer, could we go into private session, please?
Your Honor, we're in private session now.
Okay, thank you, Madam Court Officer. Madam Prosecutor, please proceed.
Thank you, Your Honors. Mr. Witness, I would like now to go back to the first moment when you were put in the barn at your arrival. I asked you earlier whether you found other people there in the barn, and you said yes, there were. And this was at page 32, line 10 of today's transcript. So now that we are in private session and you are free to mention names, to give details, etc., can you now tell us who were these other people that you found in the barn at your arrival? Their names, anything you
the same things.
How often would these other people be beaten or mistreated, whatever you witness? How often was that?
In the beginning, it was the same for everyone. We were beaten every day, all of us.
Were these other people beaten up in front of you? Did you witness that while you were in the cowshed?
As I said, they would kick us or punch us when we were there in the cowshed, but usually they would take people upstairs and torture them there.
And could you hear what was happening upstairs when other people were taken out of the barn and, as you said, upstairs?
Yes, we could hear. I could hear all sorts of voices. And it's there where I learned that somebody's voice can change because of what he's undergoing.
What sort of voices could you hear? I'm sorry, I'm asking you to go into very specific details, but I think it is important that we fully understand. Thank you.
Well, Madam Prosecutor, you could hear people screaming, howling like dogs, making sounds like cats, screaming cats, because of the torture and the pain. Maybe I uttered the same kind of voices, but it was because of the torture.
I understand, and thank you for those details. Mr. Witness, did the mistreatments happen during the night as well? Was it day and night, only during the day, only during the night, if you remember?
It happened during the day and during the night, whenever they felt like it, whenever they came, opened the door, took someone upstairs, whenever they felt like it.
In which conditions did you see the people who were taken upstairs coming back to the barn? In which state would you see them after they had been taken upstairs, once they returned to the barn?
Whoever was taken upstairs to be beaten was taken then downstairs when they had lost consciousness. We tried to help the people that were brought downstairs in that state. We tried to cover them with a blanket or help them in any way we could. We tried to help each other. It was a terrible state that we were in.
Sir, I will now go person by person. I will ask you questions related to the mistreatment that each of the people you mentioned by name received, those that you witnessed, of course. So please bear with me. And again, I know it's a difficult part to go through, but we appreciate your assistance.
Your Honors, we're back in open session.
Thank you, Madam Court Officer. Madam Prosecutor, please proceed.
Thank you, Your Honors. Mr. Witness, now I would like to address the conditions of your detentions. So in terms of food, were you given sufficient food over the days of your detention?
Food. Once in 2 or 3 days, just a small piece of bread. How can I explain it? Let's say half a loaf of bread, and then we would divide it into 5, 6 pieces. And this was brought to us every second or third day.
What about water? Were you given enough water to drink?
No, not even water. As I explained earlier, I asked for water. I was beaten and urinated upon. No water, nothing. You could not even ask.
Can you describe the sleeping conditions?
Sleeping conditions, we slept on the ground. We had, if I'm not mistaken, 3 blankets. There was here and there some hay, and the rest was stone ground. We would usually give the blanket to the person who was in worse condition, but we slept on the ground, on earth, stone, dampness. So these were the conditions that come to my head.
Were you able to wash during those days while you were kept in the barn?
No, Madam Prosecutor, they did not give us water to drink, let alone to wash.
What about going to the toilet?
We had a bucket inside the stable. This is what we used.
Did you all have to use the same bucket in the stable?
Yes.
Urinate or defecate in front of each other?
Yes, they're inside the stable.
Did any of you receive any medical attention while you were there?
No.
Did anyone medicate your wounds after the beatings?
No. We helped each other to the extent we could.
Did any of you ask for medical attention?
No, Madam Prosecutor, as I said earlier, you couldn't dare ask for water, drinking water, let alone for something else. Whatever you asked for, to that as a reply you would get more beating.
Were you allowed to contact or send a message to your family?
No.
How did you feel during those days while you were kept in the barn?
How can one feel? Terribly. You were just waiting for death, when it will come. Today, tomorrow. You were waiting for you to be killed.
So let's now move to your release. Can you tell us how
Your Honors, we're now in open session.
Thank you, Madam Court Officer. Madam Prosecutor, please proceed.
Thank you, Your Honors.
Just to remind you, we have 5 minutes left, Madam Prosecutor, but I'm aware that you are very well aware of the time, but just to be sure.
Thank you, Your Honors. Sir, just a few questions before we break for lunch. You mentioned a downstairs part of the building, the cowshed where you were kept, and an upstairs part where you were taken at the beginning of the questioning once you arrived there, and later on other times for beatings. Can you describe to us how you would go from the cowshed to the upstairs part of the building?
They would open the door, put some sort of hood on your head, lower your head, take you upstairs into that room, and they started the procedure.
Did you have to take stairs to go upstairs?
Yes. At the entrance, there were a couple of steps, 2 or 3, but yes, there were.
These stairs internal or external to the building?
They were external. They were in front of the entrance.
Okay, so you were taken out of the cowshed, outside, up some external stairs, which would lead you inside this part of the building, which was upstairs. Is my summary correct?
Yes. In front of the entrance, there were some steps. We were taken from the cowshed. The terrain was a bit elevated, so we were taken to the steps and then up the steps.
Okay, thank you. Your Honors, I now have a set of questions which will be best to ask together. So I would suggest, if it's okay with Your Honors, that we interrupt for the break.
Thank you, Madam Prosecutor. We will proceed like that. It's now time for lunch break. We will resume at 1400 hours at 2 o'clock. So, Mr. Witness, we will see you back in 1 hour. I hope you get a rest for a moment after this intensive moments of testifying in court. I apologize for the technical hiccups and interrupting your testimony. Thank you for your patience in that respect. As communicated by CMU last week, today's third session will be from 2 till 3. So it will be only 1 hour, and then we will continue tomorrow in the morning. Court usher, could you please assist the witness in exiting the courtroom? Okay, meet at 2 o'clock. The hearing is adjourned.
All rise. All rise.
Please be seated. Okay, welcome back. We will continue with the testing of witness 1679, but not before I do a check if all the teams are remain the same, and I see no changes at all. I see also Mr. Mustafa again. Okay, we will discuss at the end of this meeting, or not discuss, just put on record in the last 5 minutes, because today we are really, bounded by the clock. So 5 minutes to 3, we can put on record an email that has come in through the trial panel account from the SPO, and that's something I would like to discuss tomorrow more in extenso, because today we have not that much time. Yeah, but to put it on record is not a problem. Okay. Good. Court usher, can we please bring the witness back? Good afternoon, Mr. Witness. Can you hear me fine?
Yes, Your Honor.
I will give the floor now back to the lawyer of the Special Prosecutor's Office to continue with the examination. Okay? Okay. Madam Prosecutor, you have the floor.
Thank you, Your Honors. Mr. Witness, before the break, you described to us how they would take you from the cowshed, the barn, to the part of the building that you called as the upstairs part. And you told us you would take external stairs to go there. Do you remember that?
Yes, Madam Prosecutor.
Can you now describe to us the upstairs inside this part?
As far as I can remember, there was a corridor, and there was a room to the left of that corridor where we were taken. So as you enter that corridor, that room was on the left side. On the other side of the corridor, there was another door, but to what kind of room, I don't know.
Okay. And can you describe this room in which you were taken inside? The inside of the room. What was there, how it looked like, anything you remember?
There were chairs, then a desk like school desks. Then there was a wardrobe. The floor was wooden floor. It was wooden planks on the floor. There were like boxes where they would keep their things. One did not have enough time to see everything that was in that room and could not pay attention to everything.
When earlier you described the mistreatments you received, when you mentioned a number of tools that were used, you mentioned metal bars, an electricity box, candles. Was this happening inside this room that you just described?
Yes, in that room. Everything that happened in that room.
Okay. Now, what about the basement, the barn where you were kept? You described it as a place for animals, as a cowshed. Were there actually animals in this stable with you and the others?
No, there were no animals. But you could tell that it was a cowshed. You could see that because I've seen in the past such locations, places where cows are kept. So you could tell it was a cowshed.
This cowshed locked?
Yes, it was a wooden door that we would use to come in and go out. And there were these wooden poles, beams.
And was it guarded as far as you could tell?
Yes, the guards were outside by the door.
Could you go out if you wanted to?
No. It was locked with a chain. They used a chain or something to lock it. And you could not just go out because the guard was right there by the door. Even if you dared to go out, there was nowhere to go.
Mr. Witness, I'm now going to show you some photographs. Madam Court Officer, can I please call up document tab number 10 in the list of exhibits for this witness? The ERN is SPOE 00 12 83 86 to 00 12 84 20, and I would need page 3, please. SPOE 00 12 83 88. Mr. Witness, can you see the photo on your screen?
Yes, Madam Prosecutor.
Does this place with the photo what is depicted in there look familiar to you?
Yes, to my recollection, this is how it was, and it should be that place. From what is left, from the images still left with me, it resembles that place. It should be that place.
What do you mean by that place?
It resembles a lot to the image I had in front of my eyes when I was released. The basement is down there, and there's this part when they would take us and bring us upstairs, so it resembles a lot. To me, at least, looks familiar.
Sir, in fact, you have identified and one now on the screens. Can I please have document marked with ERN 100801 to 100806, red 1, and I would need page 3, and this document is a tab 8 in the list of exhibits for this witness. The ERN of page 3 that I need is 100803. Sir, can you see well both photos on your screens?
Yes, Madam Prosecutor.
If you look at the photo which appears on your left-hand side, do you see date and signatures on this photo? It's to the extreme left of the screen.
Yes, yes, I can see that.
Do you recognize the signature on the left-hand side photo?
Yes, I believe it's my signature.
Now, if you look at the left-hand side photo, There is a building which is encircled in red with a red line, and there is a number 1 next to it. Can you tell us what you encircled? What building was that is marked on the left-hand side photo?
Number 1, let me explain. Number 1 is the part downstairs where we were kept, and with the circle I wanted to show the place upstairs where we were interrogated and ill-treated.
So you have encircled the building where in the basement you were kept, and in the upstairs part you were interrogated or beaten. Am I correct?
Yes, Madam Prosecutor. This is what I tried to explain with that number 1.
Okay. Let me now show you another photograph. It is again from the same photo book, page 7, SPOE 0012 8392, and the marked photo on the left can be removed from the screens, please. Sir, can you see the photo well on your screen?
Yes, Madam Prosecutor.
Does this building look familiar to you?
It looks similar even to the one on the first photograph, but this is a more focused one. It's the same building. It has that part downstairs where the barn is. It has that elevated location and the stairs. So it resembles a lot that building.
Indicate to which side of the photographs is the part downstairs where the barn is. I'm reading from your answer. Is this part on your left-hand side or on your right-hand side?
The barn is on the left-hand side. You can see it more clearly. It's down there.
Sir, in fact, once again, you have identified number 8 in the list of exhibits. The ERN is 100801 to 100806 red 1, and this time I please need page 5, ERN 100805. Mr. Witness, can you see both photos on the screen?
Yes, Madam Prosecutor.
Do you see date and signature on the photo on the left-hand side of the screen?
Yes, Madam Prosecutor, I can see that, more or less. mine.
Now, if we look actually just below your signature, there is a number 1 indicated there. Can you tell us which part of the building did you mark with that number 1?
I tried to mark the barn, that part of the building, with number 1.
If you look up from the roof of the building, there's a number 2. And there's an arrow going from the lower part of the photo up to the roof. Can you tell us what that number 2 indicates? Which part of the building did you want to indicate with that number?
With number 2, I tried to explain that we stayed at number 1, and number 2 is the room upstairs where we were taken for ill treatment. So it's number 2 because this is above the barn, the room where we were mistreated. This is what I tried to explain with number 2.
And can you see that door in the middle of the building?
Yes.
It is actually better visible on the photo on the right-hand side. It's a door with some stairs. Does that look familiar to you?
Yes. And this is how I remembered the stairs when they would take us from downstairs to upstairs. We had to go through certain steps, and this is how I remember that there were stairs there.
Okay, so this was the door with the external stairs that you told us about, through which you were taken upstairs. Is my summary correct?
Yes, Madam Prosecutor, this is how I tried to explain.
Both photos can be removed from the screen, please. Sir, I'm going to show you another photograph. Can I please have documented tab 11 of the list of exhibits? The ERN is DSM 00031 to DSM 00031 red. Sir, can you see the photo on your screen?
Yes, Madam Prosecutor.
Does the photo look familiar to you? Or what do you see in it? What do you recognize in it?
Well, I don't know if that house is on this photograph. What I can recognize on this photo is the elevated part, the stairs, and the building, the other building, because as far as I could see then, there were other buildings around as well.
So when you say the elevated part, the stairs, are you referring to the same building that we looked at in the photo before?
Yes, from what I remember, it's this elevated part, the stairs, so this is still in my memory. It is still in my memory from this place and from this building.
I will call up also the photo that, the same photo that you marked during the interview with the SPO. This is the same ERN as before, so tab number 8, 1008012 to 1008006, red one, and I need page 6 at this time, ERN 100806. If the photo can be please placed next to the other one, thanks. Sir, can you see the two photos now on the screen? Do you see date and signature on the photo on the left-hand side of the screen? Whose signature is that?
It's mine.
Now, on this photo, just above your signature, there is a number 1, and although it's not very visible, there is a line that goes from the building to number 1. What did you want to indicate with the number 1? It is on the left-hand side of the photo.
Yes, Madam Prosecutor, with number 1, I wanted to explain the same thing. Number 1 refers to the location where we stayed, the barn.
The photos can be removed, thanks. Mr. Witness, I'll call up one more photograph. Can I please have page 27 of ERN number SPOE 0012 8386 to 0012 8420, which is document tab number 10 of the list of exhibits for the witness. Page 27, please, which is ERN SPOE 0012 8412. Sir, please have a look at the photo on the screen. Can you see it well?
Yes, madam.
Do you recognize this building? Does that look familiar?
I perhaps could say that this building looks similar to the school where I went to report and join, if I'm not mistaken. This looks like the school, and if I'm not mistaken, that's the one. This is my opinion.
And so you said the school where you went to report and join. Is this the school where you had the training that you mentioned to us today, the beginning of your evidence.
Yes. If this is the school, yes. I'm not sure this is the exact building, but it looks like it. It looks like the building where I stayed for 4 or 5 days and where we were trained and so on.
And you said that this second building where you trained was the school in Slash. Is that correct?
I think so, yes.
I'll now call up another photo taken recently. And again, I'll ask you whether you recognize the building. This is document marked with number 31 in the, tab 12 in the list of exhibits. And the ERN is SPOE 0028 7803 to 0028 7803. Sir, can you see the photo on the screen?
Yes.
Do you recognize anything in this photo? As I said, this is recent, so time, of course, has had its toll on the building.
Well, I can't say that I recognize it fully, but I can say that it resembles the place where we went and were trained. The first picture looked more like it. It's been a long time, so I cannot say exactly. I can't remember.
Thank you, Mr. Witness. The photo can now be removed, please. Your Honors, I have a couple of questions which may reveal identifying details of protected witnesses, so I would like to go into private session for a little while.
Okay, Madam Prosecutor. Madam Court Officer, could you bring us into private session, please?
Now, my question is, you said you could not even stand. Could he walk?
I don't know what to say, but as I said, he was very exhausted, and on the last days we were there, he was only lying on the ground all the time. I don't think that he could walk on his own without help from anyone.
Okay. Your Honor, I just need a few minutes just to make sure I don't have anything else for private session.
Please, go ahead.
Your Honor, I think we can go back to open session, and I will have only a few questions left.
Okay, very well, Madam Prosecutor. Madam Court Officer, can you bring us back into public session?
Your Honors, we're in public session.
Thank you, Madam Court Officer. You may proceed, Madam Prosecutor.
Thank you, Your Honors. Mr. Witness, I will now move to my last area of the direct examination. Can you tell us what consequences did you suffer as a result of what happened to you in Slash, where you were detained?
Bruises and everything that we had at the time. So I have consequences to this day.
Did you seek medical attention after your release?
After some time, perhaps 3 months later, I went and had surgery. In my mouth, I had an infection. And in the meantime, I would go to other doctors as well, many doctors.
And was this a consequence of the mistreatments you received while detained?
Yes, it was a consequence of the mistreatment because I was a normal person, a normal child at the time, but these individuals did those things to me and brought me to that state.
How did the whole experience affect you afterwards, in the months, years after those events and after you were released?
I have many consequences from that. To this day, I can't sleep properly. And I don't feel calm. Even if you think of the nightmares I have, when I think of those voices and I have those flashbacks, in addition to the consequences, physical consequences that I have to this day.
Your Honors, those were all of my questions. I don't have further questions for this witness. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Prosecutor. Mr. Witness, for today, I would like to thank you very much. The examination for today is finished. So let me remind you that until tomorrow, you should not discuss your testimony with anyone. Yes? You will...
Of course, yes.
Now, try to rest, and then we will see you again tomorrow.
Thank you all. Thank you. Thanks.
Officer, could you usher the witness out? Madam Prosecutor, we have received an email of the SPO, and I give you the floor to say something about it. And I would also like to say that we have received an email of the Victim Council in this respect. I don't want to discuss and take a decision on this now, but for the record, you have the floor. But today we are a prisoner of the clock, so...
Of course, Your Honors, I'll be very brief. It was just to put on the record that, in fact, having had now better insights into the pace of live testimony for the witnesses in direct examination, we have revised our estimates for direct examination, and this affects immediately the two witnesses who are scheduled for the rest of October, 3594 and 4603. So for the first witness, instead of the 6 hours initially estimated, we now believe that we will be able to conclude the direct examination between 4 to 5 hours. For the second witness, for 603, for whom initially the estimation was 5 hours, we believe we can conclude the direct examination up maximum 2 hours, 1 to 2 hours. So being aware that this impacts the schedule, also for the other parties and the trial panel, we wanted to give ahead notice of this. And in addition to that, we will do the same, meaning provide revised estimates for the witnesses to come in November. And we will do so in writing through an updated order of witnesses for the month of October. So that will be filed this week.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Prosecutor. We will come back on this tomorrow morning, and if need be, also the other parties and Victims Council can take the floor on this if necessary. Just one remark from the panel. Also, the panel needs to prepare for the witnesses, of course. So it's not only time of questioning that is important, but it's a more complex issue. But yes, Is there anything else the parties and the Victims' Council would like to raise at this moment in time?
No, mindful of, Your Honours, mindful of the time, only very briefly, we indicated some flexibility with regard to availabilities. You have that in writing, so that should 2 witnesses be scheduled next week, we can, together with my co-counsel, ensure that some presence is there. Thanks.
Thank you. Is there something the Defense Counsel would like to raise at this point in time?
No, Your Honor, we do not have to raise anything at this point. Thank you.
Okay. Good. Then I thank the parties and the Victims' Council for their attention. I thank the interpreters, which will have still to continue today in another session at 3:30, the stenographer and the audiovisual technicians. It was a little bit challenging today, and the security personnel for their assistance today. The hearing is adjourned till tomorrow 9:30.
All rise.